All right. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the channel. This is Rob here at Smirking Gun. And today we're going to be doing a show recommendation. It's a show that is still going on. I mean, if you're looking at me talking about it and I literally said something else, like that would be stupid. We're talking about Gyeongseong. I'm making sure I try to say that right. And I was listening for it all the time. And I'm still going to butcher it because I just don't know how to I don't know. But today we're talking about Gyeongseong Creature. It is on Netflix. The first part came out on December 22nd or something like that. And the second part comes out on January 5th. And before January 5th comes out, I want to go ahead and give this show my stamp of approval and tell y'all that I highly recommend watching this show. I'm planning on getting caught up so that when the next part drops, I am ready for it. Um, again, I wish that Netflix would do more episode to episode, like, or more like weekly episode things. I think this show is one of those shows that they actually do release weekly or were releasing weekly. Um, my big thing about Netflix is, just to talk about this right now, because I just like this format now more than I like binging. And I've talked to death about binging and how really it just makes us, just kind of empty after we watch it. To me, I always want more and more when it never stops. I miss the anticipation. I miss events. I miss being, like every week having something, new to talk about with a group of people, kind of like Critical Role. Um, and so that's just my thing. But also as a business, like, I wish that they would get on board with more weekly things, and then the reason I say this is because of, like, the way that they track things on Netflix, where shows just don't they're looking for growth, right? They're looking for subscriber growth, and I feel like if you make a show weekly, you're gonna have people that if they like the show, that'll be a greater metric, wouldn't it? To see how many people watch every week rather than try to binge it? I don't know. But anyway, Jeon Creature is a Korean drama, and I've really been trying to branch out. I don't want to be as ignorant as some people out there who claim to know a lot about this, that, and the others cultures, film industry, because they don't. But I'm trying to change that. And first thing I was trying to do is really start to get into manga and anime more, things that are outside of my comfort zone. And now that I've been talking about a bunch of stuff and I've been impressed with some of the things I've seen on Netflix, I decided to take a chance on this Jeon Creature, and I'm telling you, it's fantastic. And since some people out there, really wish I would stick to a script, which I'll never do, I'm going to throw everybody out there a bone and read from the Time magazine article from December 22nd by writer Katie Burt, or, however you could call this, a journalism. I don't know. But Katie Burt's the person who wrote this, so I'm giving them credit. And this way, you guys get to hear, in script-like form, the what this show is about and its themes. And then after that, I will tell you guys what I think about the show so far. I am 3 episodes deep, and when I saw the trailer for the show a little while back, I was intrigued. But it was kind of another one of those things where I was like, I'll get around to it if I ever, get Netflix, because I saw this trailer on YouTube. Well, I'm glad that I decided to watch this. So here's what Katie Burt from Time Magazine had to say about this show, to describe it, basically what it is. And I think that a good description like this for people who listen to me or listen to anybody, if you have a hard time describing something, this might help people watch this, because I think a lot of people get nervous with anything overseas, that will I understand it? Will I know what's going on? That kind of thing. So here we go. Netflix's Korean drama Jeonseong Creature, which hits the streamer with its first 7 episodes on December 22nd, opens in 1945 as the Japanese Imperial Army rushes to destroy the evidence of the lethal human experiments they have been conducting in northeast China. As snow falls on the remote landscape known by the Japanese occupying force as Manchuria, corpses are thrown into piles to be burned. Prisoners are shot as men in uniforms prepare to set the entire complex ablaze. In this horrific setting, inspired by the real-life war crimes of Chemical Warfare Division Unit 731, the fictional General Kato worries about his pet project, monsters born of human experimentation, designed to be weapons in the ongoing World War. He grabs what he needs to continue his work and sets off for another corner of the Japanese Empire, Gyeongseong, the city we now know today as Seoul. It's not a secret that Netflix is betting big on Korea. This year, the streamer announced a further 2.5 billion investment in the East Asian country over the next 4 years, and engagement metrics recently released show that several Korean productions were among Netflix's most watched series in the first half of the year. Among 2023's Korean drama slate, however, Jeonseon Creature is noteworthy for several reasons. First, it stars some of Halleyu's buzziest stars, Park Seo-joon and Han So-hee. Um, Second, and perhaps even more significantly, Jeonseon Creature snagged an initial 2-season order, a rarity in Korean TV production. Finally, Netflix is releasing Jeonseon Creature in December, which sees an elevated level of streaming activity from people home from school, work, and other regular commitments. The supernatural horror follows Park Jang Tae-sang. I'm sorry, because I messed that guy's name up, and he actually has a scene where he's like, say my name right. The supernatural horror follows Park's Jang Tae-sang, a man who has risen from poverty to become a successful pawn shop owner. But in this man, they make the pawn shop owner look like somebody from Final Fantasy. Like, and by that I mean like he's a big deal, and there's a lot of pomp, and there's a lot of noise around this guy. He seems to be like a celebrity, and the way it's all set up, it's really that part is kind of anime-ish. I don't know, but or bigger than life. And maybe a pawn shop owner's life is really interesting in Korea, or at least was back then. I don't know. I mean, we put them on TV and call them pawn stars, and it's basically just a human circus to watch a bunch of people who think their trash is valuable. And every once in a while, you find something that is. But anyway, Taesang's life of relative luxury is threatened when the Korean courtesan of a Japanese general goes missing. The general demands our protagonist, known as Mr. Omniscient in the city for the way he has his finger on the pulse of all that is happening, find her, or he will strip him of his home, business, and property and send him to fight in the Imperial Army. With Hans Yoon Cheok, dang it, when Hans Yoon Cheok, a woman who specializes in finding missing people, arrives in Jeonseong from Manchuria, applying her particular skill set to the search for her own missing mother, the two characters' paths intertwine, leading them to a military hospital where General Kato is continuing his sadistic experiments on the people of Korea. While Jeonseong Creature is a fictional story, it takes its historical setting seriously. There was a lot that we paid attention to in trying to recreate what Old Seoul was like back in 1945, director Chong Dong-yoon tells Time through a translator during a conversation with press. However, there wasn't that much data that we could rely on, and because I haven't experienced that era, there were a lot of concerns when I started working on it. I went into it thinking it was going to be nearly impossible to recreate the time perfectly, so instead I tried to focus on the overall sentiment of the era, the overall look and feel that the time must have had back then. Japan annexed Korea in 1910, occupying the peninsula until 1945 when the Axis powers lost World War II. So this story is really right on that cusp of Japan losing the war, and then we're jumping into Korea and South Korea situation. So it's like this kind of weird in between place where it's near the one war and about the start of another, where where that all goes now if you pay attention to history. Jeonseon Creature is set roughly 6 months before Japan's surrender. Before Japan was defeated, a majority of Koreans lived miserably. Soo Kyun Hwang, a lecturer in Korean studies at the University of Sydney, tells Time, ordinary Koreans were subjected to an aggressive assimilation project under the Naizen Eitai. They had to worship in Japanese Shinto shrines, recite an oath to pledge their loyalty to the Japanese emperor, and change their names into Japanese. They were subjected to extraordinary censorship and loss of freedom. When Japan entered World War II in September 1940, Koreans too were thrown into the wartime chaos and cultural policies, says Hwang. Young Korean men were forced to enlist in the Japanese military, and tens of thousands Korean girls and women were forced into sexual slavery, becoming comfort women for the Japanese military. Others were sent to work in Japanese factories and mines, says Hwang, or starved due to Japan's wartime rice extraction. Those who dissented fighting for Korean independence faced consequences such as imprisonment, torture, or death if caught. Historical content, especially those related to the Japanese colonial period, has always been a popular topic with Korean audiences, says Lee Ji-heng, a film lecturer at Seoul's Chung'ang University. Bridal Mask and a historical drama set during the 1930s Japanese colonial era took over the Korean cultural conversation when it aired in 2012, with more than 27% of Korean viewers tuning in for the finale. Other recent popular examples of media set during the time period include Park Chan-wook's 2016 thriller romance The Handmaiden and Netflix's 2018 drama Mr. Sunshine. The colonial city of Gyeongseong, which was forcibly brought into the modern era, was a hybrid space where traditional Korean hats, or there's a symbol here, and Western hats coexisted, meaning that the pre-modern and modern worlds coexisted, says Lee. And that's another really interesting aspect about this show. This is me talking. I guess I should probably jump in and say when I'm not talking about the article. Um, is I really liked that mix of the old and the new, the people modernizing and the people sticking to the old ways. You've got guys with kimonos and samurai swords and walking around with cars, and it's really cool because it's the way it was even here. With horses being replaced by cars. It's just a different cultural setting, and seeing that, I really love those touches, and I really liked seeing that part of history. Um, duh, 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 duh. Junshang during the colonial period is a time and space where patriot and quisling, a citizen of an occupied country who collaborates with the occupying force, tradition and modernity. Come on, modernity, romance, and oppression are all in one place, which is very appropriate for the backdrop of cultural popular content. Of course, when representing complex real life history in media, there is always a risk of prioritizing entertainment value over faithfulness to the lived experience of real people. There is also room to criticize the attitude overly speculating in history representation. Even if it plays a role in enhancing the identity of a nation state, visual media such as dramas and movies are basically a medium that does not allow us to keep an objective distance. This is why there are critiques to be wary of distorting history by leaning too much towards spectacle in historical content. Context, I think, is what that word was. Content? Nope, that's what it said. In the first episode of John Shang, a creature is okay. I want to skip all this. So basically, you get the gist. And I want to thank that Time article because it said a lot of things that I didn't want to have to try to remember on my own. So, what do I think, though, after all of that description? Because I really wanted the flavor of what this show's setting was. Okay. Because this is a really dark show at its core, but it does not fail to also really entertain. It's got a pretty decent script. And, I'm not saying that like I'm surprised, I'm just happy. It has a really decent script, and I'm not going to sit here and pretend that I know everything about, the actors. I usually, if you want to talk about American, British, or Australian, other countries' actors, I know a lot more than I do from anyone over in this section of the world. That being said, with my meager, knowledge of this, I want to say that I really have been so far really entertained, and there are some real standouts in this cast that if they were an American film or television, I wouldn't blink an eye. They would fit, like, and that doesn't mean like that, it's just what we're used to. And I wouldn't have blinked an eye if this was an American show, is all I'm saying, and they were cast and they were speaking English. I wouldn't have blinked an eye. And I do think that Han So-hee, who plays Cheok, she's fantastic. I love this girl. I like her character, and I really think that this actress is great. And I mean, and since I don't have like lots of context into it, I just hope that all these people that I'm talking about get work that I get to see more often, whether it's in Korean films, American films, or wherever they work. However, I get to see it, I hope I get to see it. The main character, Jang Tae-sang, played by Park Seo-joon, he is awesome. He is hilarious. There's these performances are all over the place with in tone, but I really like that they always stick to the character. There's a Kim Hae Sok. There's Im Chul Soo, Park Ji-hwan, Chol Young-jun, Jo Han-chul, Ji Woo, Claudia Kim, Lee Ha-jun. I'm sorry, I am sure that I am butchering all of these names. I really am trying though. And I'm saying them all like that because there's just a lot of really, really, really good acting in this. And I'm just gonna say that I'm really, really pleasantly surprised. I hate to say it like that. It's just that I don't have a lot of experience with it. And so it's just it just shows my like my ignorance. And I'm trying to cure that. Because despite not knowing anything about a lot of these actors or even, the countries that they come from, hearing these stories in the context, it makes this show really, really cool. Now, the setting of experimentation done by the Axis and Allied powers is not a secret to, I don't know, somebody like me or, a lot of people that watch like the X-Files, things like that, where it's not a secret that things like Operation Paperclip were happening, where we brought over Nazi soldiers and not soldiers, but scientists. Who knows? Probably some soldiers too. We don't know. But but it's happened all over the world. People experimenting on each other for all kinds of reasons. So the start of this show being in one of these camps where what is presented to you is monstrous and evil. And it is. What people are willing to do to each other for the sake of progress or a new weapon or both is put on center stage here. But what also is on center stage is the setting of the story, being that Japan controlled Korea. Even, there's um, a real sense of military control. There's also this really cool city setting where you can see the modern and the old mix. And like I said, I really liked all of that. Despite its heavy, heavy subject matter, this show is also very, very entertaining. Um, and I should have switched this already. Let's see. All right. So, like I said, this show is very, very entertaining despite its very dark subject matter. Um, It's basically a story about this guy that we've talked about that has his own he's basically this, like, celebrity pawn shop owner. It's crazy because he feels more like the Great Gatsby than a pawn shop owner, the way he's kinda talked about. But he's also got himself some enemies and ends up being taken and tortured because he's kind of being looked for by this inspector who's had it out for him. And this inspector wants him to find somebody that's been missing. It's his mistress. And if this guy does not find this girl for him, he's going to ruin his life, take everything from him. But rather than run and hide, even though he is starting to sell off his possessions, he goes and starts to look for this missing mistress. So it starts out reasonable enough. We know that it's all leading to like this dark, dark, how do they find this monster? How do these people find this monster? Well, enter the sleuths, as they call them, played awesomely by the two actors who play them, man. Like I said, Hansu Sohee and the one who plays her father, the actor who plays her father. Fantastic. I loved him. I love these characters right from jump. I like the idea of, kind of they're not Pinkertons, but they're people who find people. And I should probably just like pause this or whatever. Like find a place to pause it. I don't know. There we go. We'll just like leave it paused there. So anyway, they go around and they find people that are missing all over Manchuria and Korea. They've got a really good track record. If they don't find you alive, they at least try to bring back your bones. And they're looking for an artist. And it kind of their story cross intersects with our main character's story, and they both find out that looking for each of their own person is going to send them to the same place. Where at this hospital, The military has moved their experiments there where they have successfully created this creature, and now they want to weaponize. Um, where I've left off right now, it's really intense, but at the same time, it's somehow is really funny. It's really got some really thrilling moments. Some all of a sudden you're in an action movie a little bit. All of a sudden you're in a horror movie. It's got all kinds of tones, but it balances out well. And every once in a while, yeah, you need a laugh. Every once in a while, something crazy happens, and I'm here for it. I'm loving every second of this show. And when it comes back on in January, I really hope that a whole bunch of other people look into it too. Like I said, there's a lot about class. There's a lot about society. There's a lot about you can learn from about for history here. There's basically everything for everyone in this show, I think. You just and it's look, it's dubbed. You can watch it dubbed, so you don't have to read subtitles. And I actually think the subtitles actually kind of work in this one. They do seem to match what they're saying a little bit. I think I'm gonna switch from dubbed over to the original just because I want to hear the actual actors' voices. There's nothing against the voice actors in this that do the dubbing. I think that they did a really good job too. Um, but again, what really grabs me is the story and the characters because it's me. That's what I like. And I am really excited to finish this show and see where it's going. The creature effects are actually pretty good. The violence and the gore is pretty extreme. Uh, the side effects of this creature, all the ways that they've utilized it so far, are pretty cool and crazy. And I'm really excited to see what's going to happen when this thing gets out. So anyway, that's all I had for this. This was a little bit of just a recommendation and a little bit of describing the world and what I think. So if you are interested in Gyeongseong Creature or you have been watching it, let me know in the comments below what you think of this show. Otherwise, I will see you guys on the next video.